Protests have erupted in Rochester, New York on Tuesday night after a grand jury declined to indict police officers involved in the death of Daniel Prude. Now, Daniel Prude is a 41-year-old black man. He was having a mental health crisis when Rochester police officers placed a spit hood over his head and then slammed his face into the pavement and held it there. He then, of course, died as a result about a week later, actually. So now on Tuesday, New York Attorney General Letitia James announced that the grand jury had decided against criminal charges for the officers involved in his death. James said she had to respect the grand jury's decision, but called for serious reform of a criminal justice system that, quote, utterly and abjectly failed Mr. Prude and so many others before him. As a result of this, of course, large crowds of people had gathered to protest this, Black Lives Matter flags, and were calling for accountability for these police officers. Now, videos on social media showed protesters carrying these BLM flags and signs saying no justice, no peace. So far, of course, it's been incredibly peaceful, and I hope it will stay that way. In a statement, Rochester Police Chief Cynthia Harriet Sullivan said the officers will remain on leave pending the outcome of an internal investigation, but so far there is no criminal investigation here. Harriet Sullivan also urged those out protesting to remain peaceful. I understand the community's collective pain in this moment and respect their constitutional rights to peaceful and lawful demonstration to express their feelings about the grand jury's decision. However, it's critical that the lives and property of all are respected and safeguarded. Our primary goal is to maintain public safety and to keep the peace. We ask that anyone wishing to demonstrate refrain from committing acts or violence or crimes. So now, look, I just got to say, the life of Daniel Prude was not respected. It was disrespected. But hey, I understand, got to keep it peaceful, right? And so far, as I mentioned before, it has been. There's been no violence throughout the demonstrations. And good to be, you don't want to give the cops, especially in Rochester, New York, that have been accused on multiple occasions of using excessive force, any opportunity to do so. You just don't want to do that, right? Now, Rochester police, by the way, have been in some hot water as of late. You guys remember, maybe you do, maybe you don't, the situation where they pepper sprayed a 9-year-old. Of course, she was a young black girl. Of course. Now, look, what is it going to take, okay, before we defund the police? I know, nobody's going to do it. Biden's not going to do it. None of the states really are going to do it. But, I mean, failing that, we can't even hold police accountable for using excessive force, leading to somebody's death. I mean, it's insane that we send police officers to deal with people having mental health episodes. And that's what this was. This was a mental health episode. Okay, this was somebody who, yes, had a small amount of drugs in their system. They were having a mental health crisis, and they were acting out in ways that somebody who isn't having a mental health crisis wouldn't act like. So maybe instead of having someone crush their face in the pavement, maybe we should send people out there who, I don't know, have experience dealing with mental health. All right? And so, look, this is what we mean by defund the police. We should stop making police do things that they are not meant to do, because they will usually end up doing the things that they're not supposed to do. They are trained to go and crush people's skulls. Okay, they're meant and trained to go after violent criminals. A lot of the people that they come across are not violent criminals. They are people in a bad way. They are people having a bad day. They are people that need help. Okay? Yes, social workers with proper pay could respond to these incidents. It's true. And this guy ended up, naked on the pavement with a spit hood over his head. And so this is what leads to unnecessary death. All right? And of course, unfortunately, in this case, nobody expected the Rochester police to be held accountable for this. And that's exactly what happened. And again, they use, in a lot of these cases, they use the fact that there were drugs in his system and they were claiming something called excited delirium. Now, I've talked about this before. This is directly related to the Elijah McClain case, and actually a lot of cases where young black men who may, or may not be suffering from a mental health emergency end up getting disproportionately claimed that, it was excited delirium. That's what made him super strong. That's why we had to pile 5 police officers on top of him and use extraordinary measures to detain him. That unfortunately led to their death. What are you going to do? Right? Excited delirium. We were the ones who were actually in danger, when actually that's not true. It is an incredibly vague, not real thing. Okay, this is a medical term that police like to use, but has not been verified by experts. Okay, and unfortunately, as I said, they use that same excuse in the case of Elijah McClain. Elijah McClain was unlawfully detained. He was put in multiple carotid holds, forcefully injected with ketamine. This is another thing that they use in these so-called excited delirium cases, where they will go and forcefully inject you with drugs in order to so-called calm you down. And of course, unfortunately, due to some of these carotid holds and the different holds that they use, kill you. They kill you. And so that's a problem. All right. Black suspects seem to be, again, diagnosed disproportionately with this after the fact to kind of explain why they keep dying in police custody or during an arrest. So this is a huge problem. All right. And by the way, Elijah McClain was 140 pounds. They gave him way too much. Now, the paramedics in this case are at fault because they unquestionably go and inject this drug into people, when the police tell them to. I mean, that's what's going on. All right. And that kid was just walking home with headphones, and that's why he didn't hear the police officer stop him for being quote unquote sketchy, not actually doing any sort of crime, not doing anything. But hey, that didn't stop the police officers from, doing what they did, manhandling him. And that's what these two cases have in common. Okay. Is the overreaction, is the brutality involved. And, good examples of how police are not trained to deal with people at all, to talk to them or to help them. They are only trained to take them down with maximum force, subdue them, unfortunately, even if it means killing them in the process. Policing has to change in this country, and they also have to stop being required to do the things they're not trained to do and respond to mental health emergencies. We need to have people that are set up to do that, to handle this. And that starts with defunding the police. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.